A client wants to pause their retainer, right? So you just plan your capacity around this project. You have your production schedule, and now the client just tells you they want to hold off for a month or so. How do you handle this situation, and how do you protect your revenue moving forward? So this is actually pretty simple. I mean, it all starts with expectations and setting boundaries from the get-go. So what's very important is a couple of things here. First of all, you always have to sign a contract. No matter how difficult the project is, no matter how big it is, no matter how much money you're making, you always have to sign the contract. That contract stipulates or covers the scope of work and the terms of payments and terms of the deadlines and everything else, right? And in that contract, you mention, the fact that you're being paid up front, which I strongly recommend. The fact that if there's a pause of the project, how you want to handle that. If there's if the client doesn't no longer responds to you, so what do you do then? Do you deliver the work still? So it's called an abandonment clause, right? So first of all, again, remember about having a contract. Second of all, you cannot pause payments. What you can potentially do is pause the delivery. If that delivery, and then pausing that delivery is hinging on the fact that you actually have other clients and you have a production schedule, and you will fit the client at some future time depending on your schedule, right? So it has to be, you have to have this mindset of this is on your terms, and you're being helpful and flexible, but it's not on the client's terms when they say, well, we want to pause and come back to you in a month or 2 or 3 or never, right? So the risk when you pause the payment is that the client will never come back. And so you forecasted that amount of money to come into your business. You have forecasted the delivery. You have maybe hired people to deliver, and all of a sudden your client tells you they're not doing this. So that's why you have to protect yourself by signing a contract in which you mention that the contract is for 3 months. And the clause that I like to use, or whatever the length is, and the clause that I like to use is that there is a total amount of money or the value of the project. And even if you're divided, even if you're paid monthly, that means there's a value of this project that the client has to pay you no matter what, and that payment is split into monthly installments or monthly invoices, right? So the payment has to go through, the delivery has to stop or can stop at that point, right? So this is how you protect yourself. The other option is that the client can pause for, let's say, a month, if provided that they give you a 30-day notice, and then if they don't pick up the following month, your payment kicks back in, and regardless whether they want to start again or not, right? So what is important, I guess the overarching mindset here is that you have to protect yourself. You have to have a contract. You have to think about different ways that you can handle this situation and put it in the contract. And then during your onboarding process, and even before that, when you actually sign a contract, it's very, very important to have that kind of boundaries, expectations conversation, which might not be the most sexy one, because we're all excited to start with the client. We landed this client, we got this money, blah blah blah. But you have to have that conversation before you even start, so that you are on the same page with the client when it comes to the actual rules of engagement, right? Which is, we don't pause, or we pause for for these reasons. If you abandon the project, we're gonna still be paid, all these other things. That difficult conversation that just lays down all the information and all the rules that you want to play by before you start is very, very important. Because if you don't have this difficult conversation now, you will be way, way harder and more stressful to have it when the client wants to pause or when the client wants to abandon the project. So sign a contract, think about different ways you can handle it. Make sure you have a conversation with the client before you even start working with them on the kind of contract signing phase.